Guys, today we are looking at Blast Furnace. This is an aggressive burst pulse rifle, meaning it shoots 4 bullets at a time. Currently in the game, there's only 2 other pulse rifles that do this, Go Figure and Right Side of Wrong. Go Figure is probably the one we're going to be focusing on in terms of comparisons, as it is also in the same slot as Blast Furnace. Now the role that you see here is Rampage, which kills with this weapon temporarily grant increased damage, stacks up to 3 times. Outlaw, precision kills greatly decrease that reload time. The 2 options for our magazine perks is drop mag and steady rounds. Now drop mag, you can use that in something like PvE, but for PvP, I would highly suggest steady rounds. Now steady rounds, it throws on an extra 15 stability, but you do lose a little in that range. But considering that the default range of Blast Furnace is so good, I don't think you're going to be missing out on much. Now the sight that we're using, or the scope that we're using today, is Marin RDL. It is a medium zoom scope. I really want to play with this pulse rifle with a short zoom scope. I want to see how the short zoom scopes handles in the mid range. Does it still have good target acquisition? And as far as the long range scopes in PvP, I wouldn't recommend it. To me, they just have way too much zoom in them. Now the masterwork here is a range masterwork, and we also slapped on a counterbalance mod just to help out with that recoil. Now let's talk time to kill. For these aggressive burst pulse rifles, we're looking at a TTK value of 0.73 seconds, which is actually really good. One of the best in the game, actually. Now, of course, things like Regic's broadsword does have a faster time to kill, but super unforgiving, as it requires all shots to be crits. Whereas Blast Furnace only requires 6 of your 8 shots to be crits and the other 2 to be bodied to reach that optimal time to kill. Now here on console, it was not often that I 2-burst enemies. A lot of times I still had to 3-burst them, which is why you see a counterbalance mod here, which really does help with that recoil. And again, you don't have to use a counterbalance mod. It really just depends on you. To me though, that 4th shot is the one that can hang you up. So that counterbalance mod just keeps everything vertical. Now when we compare this to something like Go Figure, which has been a great pulse rifle for both PvP and for PvE, Blast Furnace has better range, better stability, better reload speed, a little less on the handling, better aim assist, and a little less on recoil direction. But the 2 big ones, that range and that stability there on Blast Furnace is really good. So which one of these pulse rifles is better? Now I've got some really good rolled Go Figures. I mean some nasty ones. After playing with Blast Furnace though, it's safe to say that this weapon will more than likely replace all of my Go Figures. And I think it's just a combination of a couple of things. Number 1, has better stats, but number 2, something we don't really talk about too much. I love the scopes on these Black Armory weapons. Those Marin sights are so good. I just love the fact that they don't obstruct my field of view, and they got fat reticles, which I'm personally a huge fan of. So for me, as soon as I get the rolls that I want, Blast Furnace will be replacing my Go Figures. And that'll be for both PvP and for PvE. Now, what are the roles that you want to be looking for? For PvP, guys, I actually want to play with a kill clip feeding frenzy role with steady rounds, and preferably a short zoom scope. Also, a stability masterwork would be really nice. This weapon by default has great range, so I really don't think it needs any more range than what you got. I mean, 81 range by default is nasty. With something like steady rounds, it does drop it to 76, but that's still good. And even though kill clip is definitely not a role that I'm always seeking, considering that kill clip makes every weapon much better, obviously, it's a great perk. I want to see how it pairs with Feeding Frenzy, as kills with that weapon increases reload speed rather than precision kills. I'm also curious in Zen Moment. Considering that the weapon does fire 4 shots at a time, I really wonder how much Zen really brings things down and keeps those shots together. So to me, I almost want to go Zen Moment, Rampage, and if Zen Moment actually allows us here on console to not rely on counterbalance, rock a Rampage spec with it. Oh man, that could be nasty. Now the PvE role that I want to try. This one gets a little interesting. I want to actually try this with Extended Mag, Feeding Frenzy, and Rampage. I want to try those together with a Rampage spec. To me, that seems like a pretty nasty role for PvE, as we'll be able to extend Rampage even longer with Rampage spec, but we'll also get that big jump in magazine size. And even though that does bring our reload speed down, we've got Feeding Frenzy, so that won't be a problem. So fellas, that is Blast Furnace, an all-around great weapon for both PvP and for PvE. It's got great stats, better stats than even something like Go Figure and Right Side of Wrong. It's got wonderful scopes, and a good silent time to kill in Crucible. Guys, you can't ask for more. So I highly suggest getting your hands on it. I will be reviewing some god rolls today. But if you happen to come across some of the rolls that I mentioned, feel free to reach out to me. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.